Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Purple Way podcast. My name is Paris, and today I have the pleasure to talk to Sonal Jenkins. Sonal, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you, Paris. How are you?
Perfect. Very good. Thank you so much. I would love to start with your background, and I would like to ask you what made you follow this career path and become a nutritionist?
I've always had an interest in the human body, also psychology, and also I can say nutrition too from a very young age. I
Mhm.
was often found, I can't remember the full title of the book, but it was this Osborne Guide to Nutrients and Health. So that was like
Mhm.
my Bible, and that was when I was like 12 years old.
Wow.
Um, I always used to read it, and at college we never got offered nutrition as a subject area, so I ended
Hmm.
up studying sciences, so biology, chemistry, and psychology at A level, and then did nutritional biochemistry at university, so higher education. But I think deep down I always knew that I wanted to help people, teach as well,
Mm.
and I didn't realize that the career nutritionist would end up being what I end up following. I think I've always had the interest from a young age.
Yeah.
Um, Not necessarily cooking, but watching. My mother's a great cook, so watching
Yeah.
her prepare things from scratch, and also being exposed to different types of food. I think that
Yeah.
also helped as well subconsciously.
Hmm.
But yeah, and obviously now I've become a big foodie,
Yeah.
and I love helping people. So that's another thing. So it's really nice that
Yeah.
in my career I can do everything that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But instead of going kind of like the pharmaceutical medical route, I've gone
Hmm.
the natural route, which is more
Yeah.
me anyway. Yeah. So I really am a firm believer in holistic, natural, complementary therapies, I guess to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it was interest that became, instead of a hobby, turned into a
Yeah.
career. Yeah. And
Yeah.
also psychology as well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the best thing. Like, being able to do what you love and, make that a career out of it. I find that fascinating. I do agree with you. Starting with kind of like, kind of the importance of good diet, right? And I want to play the devil's advocate here. And I would like to ask you, why do you think it's important to know what we are eating?
Very good question.
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, in essence, what we eat
Mm.
is it fuels the human body, doesn't it? So our body is
Yeah.
this is what we're trying to keep alive, in a
Yeah.
nutshell. So what we consume is going to help it function better. So I often compare the body to a like machine. For example, a
Hmm.
car
Yeah.
is an example. And what do we do to a car, and how can we break down the car and its
Hmm.
parts? We can compare to the body. So, for example, the wheels of the car are like our legs. The battery can be compared to the heart,
Hmm.
perhaps. The engine to the brain.
Hmm.
And I'm going to put this on my blog post because it's a really good comparison to see.
Yeah.
So the fuel, almost like the diesel and petrol that you put in a
Hmm.
car, apart from electrics, which is something
Yeah.
else. But anyway,
Good.
still
Yeah.
still drives the machine, doesn't it? Yeah. The fuel is what gives our body energy and
Yeah.
kind of nourishes our cells. So what we
Mm.
eat is really important, and we should be giving it a lot of thought, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely do agree. And I love your analogy as well. I find that fascinating. And it kind of gives you a perspective as well of, whatever you put in your body, and like, the fuel that you put in your body will also kind of have an impact on the performance of your body. So if you put, let's say, processed foods into your body, then you will maybe not perform well, right? And you might have issues. The same as kind of with the car analogy, as you said. No, I do
Exactly.
agree.
Yeah, if you put the wrong fuel in a car, you're right, actually, it doesn't, yeah, work as
Yeah.
best. So, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then you've got
No,
different types of fuel grades as well, haven't we? Which I came to learn recently. So, yeah,
exactly.
the
Yeah, yeah,
quality
yeah.
of the fuel. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's something we will touch upon as well later on. But, do you think a good diet can improve, like, aspects of our lives, right? From our sleep, our energy, and mood? And if you do think that's true, what do we need to understand when it comes to nutritional food?
What we eat, how it does impact how we feel, and how, in terms of not just energy, but also our mental health too. But nutrition is one pillar of health, I would say. So we can
Hmm.
put sleep in its separate category, and fitness and other lifestyle things. But there is a very, very strong correlation between nutrition and health.
Yeah.
Because in essence, it is our full body and brain, isn't it? So whatever we put into our body becomes building blocks for hormones, for example, for
Hmm.
neurotransmitters, which help with sleep. They also help control hunger, how our organs work. So,
Yeah.
but one of the key things is the hydration. So, even before
Yeah.
food, is if we're, because a lot of us are composed of, all of us, in fact, human beings, and also kids. um,
Yeah.
Big percentage of us is water. So at least 70% of our bodies are made up of water. So that's the first thing we should be doing is
Nice.
hydrating,
Mm,
and
yes.
then, yeah, working on the fuel.
I think like I have that issue as well. Like for example, sometimes like when I'm working and etc., I won't hydrate, or like I will have a cup of coffee or like a cup of tea, and I will think that is hydration. But I think also like drinking water is such a fundamental you know issue or fundamental thing that a
Yeah.
lot of people struggle. Like I do wonder if like people do drink, like I think it's what, like 2.5 liters of water a day we should be drinking.
I would say so. It depends. A litre and a half is a good way to start, minimum. It
Okay.
depends because in summer and when in warmer climates, if you're exercising and sweating a little bit more, you need a little. I think you need more. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, but if you're having weaker teas, for example, or herbal teas, you will be getting
Hmm.
some hydration from that. So it's not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No, I do agree with you. Do you think we should be eating for a purpose? Right. And I can explain what I mean by that. For example, I eat with the purpose of good nutrition. So every week I will go to the supermarket and I will buy the same exact things, kind of same ingredients, chicken, mince, my sweet potatoes, rice, some vegetables. And, you know, over time, because I've been doing this now for like 3 months, maybe 6 months, I just feel good. And that's, I think, a purpose. And in your kind of like, work, do you think it's important to eat for a purpose?
Yeah, I do. So if we look at, for example, children and
Hmm.
so babies, children, teens, they're growing.
Hmm.
So for them, um, they're looking to thrive, aren't they? Because nutrition helps with growth.
Yeah.
So for them, so the purpose can be related to also the kind of time period you are in, your, the age that you are, for example. If you're into fitness, then you're looking at performance nutrition maybe too, and maybe
Yeah.
aesthetic health. So you're cutting back on some macro groups to achieve a certain physique.
Mhm.
You're eating for energy. So it really depends on somebody's lifestyle too. But I think
That's interesting.
it's fair to say, I'm answering for probably everyone, the purpose, we've got multiple purposes here. So one is energy,
Yeah.
movement as well, supporting the health of the body. So
Yeah.
because all of the cells require vitamins, minerals, and nutrients, don't they? So
Yeah.
it's really just to keep our body system healthy, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, I mean, obviously,
No.
sleep,
That's,
mood, hormones, your energy, that all it all factors in, doesn't it? Yeah.
yeah. No, I do agree. I think what I liked what you said is like the lifestyle. And would you say, like, for example, if we go to the gym very
Hmm.
often, right? And like, we want to have a good physique,
Hmm.
then I assume, right, the more protein intake will be more important. But if someone, like for example, has a different kind of lifestyle that they need more energy or more endurance, let's say for example, then more
Hmm.
carbs would be the case for them. So it's quite an interesting perspective, to be honest, that like you should eat based on the lifestyle that you want to have. Could that
Yeah.
be something
Yeah, I
that's
think there's
interesting?
absolutely, you've got to, yeah, you can take into that account because
Wow.
also even people that are working, if somebody's got a laborious job, for example, they might need more calories than somebody who's just sitting down at the computer all day. Yeah, and then if we look at also elderly nutrition, their
Ah,
appetites can decrease. They also have. For them, it's really important to keep their muscle mass and bone strong as well.
yeah.
So it depends where somebody is as well.
Yeah.
Not that age matters because you've got biological and chronic age. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not everyone obviously is like somebody can be functioning, you know, younger almost than their biological age, if that makes sense. But yeah, I
Mhm.
think purpose is important, definitely. So
Yeah.
for me, a lot of what I work with my client, the work that I do with my clients is once we've addressed their health goals, is just making sure that their diet and the nutrients that they're consuming, maybe also through supplementation, is
Hmm.
working for them and delaying and preventing diseases,
Hmm.
imbalances. and also helping them live longer, because longevity is
Yeah.
another thing. Everyone wants to,
Yeah.
yeah. And the quality of life. So if someone's got, for example, arthritis or
Hmm.
inflammation or pain that can't be
Mm.
addressed, but we can maybe do it nutritionally, that's
Mm.
another reason to follow a healthier diet. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's
If
interesting.
that
Yeah,
makes
because
sense.
like for
Yeah.
oh, 100%. Yeah, 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 definitely does. Because like for example, I see my parents and like, they're 60 and 65, right? And kind of like I see them now and it's like in that phase of their life that I find important from the information and knowledge I have that nutrition is so important. And especially as you said, like, the bone and muscle structure, they have to kind of like, maintain it if they want to have longevity. And yeah, and like kind of for me as well, like I exercise and I eat with the purpose and the perspective of longevity. Like I find that very important, right? And hopefully, yeah, I keep it up and etc. Yeah. I assume you have kind of answered my question as well, because I wanted to ask you, have you found a perspective when you tell to your clients they have like a eureka moment? And I
Mm.
think you may have answered the question by saying, based on the lifestyle, but I don't know if you have any other kind of thoughts on how can we see in a different lens, dieting and food and nutrition.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? It's such a big area because you're looking at not just organs, like the heart, for example, but the cardiovascular system, lungs. We look at everything, but digestion's a big one too. But yeah, the eureka
Mm.
moments would be. I mean, it's always a delight for me to see clients when they go through. Once they've after the first session, and then once they try out my recommendations, they're like, "Wow! Like I feel amazing. Or I've noticed my bloating disappear and." My energy's better, my sleep's better. So you've got that. You also have side benefits as well. So they
Yeah.
notice positive things in other areas of their life. But sometimes it can be something like just explaining some a health a symptom that they're going through that perhaps a GP or somebody else can't explain to them because of the lack of
Mm.
time that they have. So something like blood sugar balance, people think,
Hmm.
okay, right, I'm diabetic, I've got to take my pill to decrease the blood sugars, but they don't fully
Yeah.
understand the physiology of the organs, how it's working, and the hormones that are involved in diabetes to regulate blood sugars. So I can break it down into layman's term, explain it, and they're like, that makes sense. And that's why I've got to eat this, not have this, and do this. The same with cholesterol. There's a lot of myths around, what one
Hmm.
should be eating. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's really nice to see clients like, I've learned something, and often they do learn a
Mhm.
lot because then we're not taught this.
Yeah.
Even some of this I wasn't taught at college or university. It's
Yeah.
due to years of research with journals or speaking to people and also trying things on myself because I'm a guinea pig as well. So yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting what you said about like cholesterol and diabetes, because like as you say, like a lot of people do not are not taught these things, right? And what we're going to talk a little bit later is social media, and how, like, for example, now you have social media and the internet in general, and so many people are following the advice of social media influencers. And you're like, you know, is it true? Is it not true? Is it good information, bad information? So I really want, this is something I wanted to touch upon later on.
Sure.
um, do you have some principles that you talk with your clients about eating processed and unprocessed food? Like, or what's maybe your thoughts on, between processed and unprocessed food?
Yeah, it's yeah, and this has had some more press around it, hasn't it? Oh, we've got
Mm.
processed foods, and now there's ultra processed food. So the category for ultra processed would be things that are ready-made meals, take
Hmm.
not necessarily takeaways, actually, it'd be things like fast food brands,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, fast
so
food.
they would be slightly more processed. Yeah, and we know
Mm.
that because the shelf life is longer, and the ingredients on them.
Yeah.
Again, you have a long list of ingredients. Yeah, but again, this is anything natural that's
Hmm.
not been altered too much or heated at high temperatures and things like that.
Mm.
Your body is going to thrive on better. It's going to be able to break it
Yeah.
down better, digest it better, and get the nutrients. So the thing is, we're looking at food, which yes, you eat it and it gives you energy. Because if you did have certain fried food from these big chains
Mm.
or some processed meals that are ready made, you're going to get the energy and the fuel, but you might not get all the nutrients that your body needs, if that makes
Mm.
sense.
Yeah.
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 So it'll be lower in vitamins, for example, like C, B. You also K, folic acid, iron. Yeah. So if
Hmm.
we look at natural foods, they're going to be higher
Yeah.
in those nutrients. Yeah. So they're going to be
Yeah.
much more nourishing to your body. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say, as a general kind of principle, or yeah, like a golden rule is to stick with as much natural food as you can, like things, yeah, natural things and not processed food.
Yeah, I think there's this is
Yeah.
the other thing is it's about balance as well because the other thing about if somebody follows a strict nutrition plan, going to try and eat 100% healthy, I think it's going to be a bit challenging, especially if you
Mm,
take into account holidays and special occasions and
yeah.
if you have to work away. So we have to be practical and realistic with this. Now the
Yeah.
body is absolutely remarkable. I don't know
Yeah.
Paris. You know that how resilient our organs are. You can take, our livers, for example,
Yeah.
you can take away a small segment of it, or even a large segment,
Hmm.
and it can still operate. So the body can handle certain chemicals and toxins. It detoxifies it, but it's all about how much you're putting in and your
I see.
current state of health. So if you're very, very healthy, you could probably
Yeah.
get away with having some of these meals and it not having an impact. But
Yeah.
and this shows how different we all are. Somebody else can have a lot of process, maybe have one meal out and then they're actually got the stomach cramps and the bloating and
Mm,
the headaches. Do you know what I mean? So it really
yeah.
depends on how we all digest and absorb the foods. But I think it's in balance. So if some as a general rule, I say to my clients, if you can eat well 80% of the time, and
Yeah.
that's like making your own meals and buying produce as fresh as you can,
Yeah.
really following the macronutrients and getting the vitamins and minerals in, I think you're on to a good, healthy,
Yeah.
balanced diet. And then you've got that leeway to, you know, have something out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like on a night out, you can have and you can go to a restaurant, right? And of course, like as you said, like it doesn't have to be a fast food, but maybe like if your lifestyle allows it and money and whatever, go to a restaurant, like go to a nice restaurant rather than like a fast food restaurant, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, have your burger or like something like that. But like, yeah,
Exactly. That's right.
you know,
Yes. Yes.
yeah, 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 yeah. I do agree with you. And you kind of touched upon it, supplements, right? A lot of people, or even me included, right? We don't get the all the vitamins that we need and the minerals we need from our diet, right? What's your take on supplements? And especially here in the UK, when we don't have the sun all the time, should we take supplements? And also, how can we go about what kind of supplements to take? Like a multivitamin, is it okay, or like should we kind of be more specific about it?
Yeah. We need another session on supplements. I'll tell you that. But yeah.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
it's a big
Yes.
topic. Yeah.
Exactly. They're
Hmm.
so important. One of the reasons is because our soils do not contain the nutrients, all of
Uh,
them. So the UK
yeah.
soils, especially, are low in selenium, for example. If our food is grown on nutrient poor soil, that means the food that we're eating doesn't contain as much nutrients, if that makes sense. Yeah. So, and we can compare this to plants. There's studies done on olive trees, for example, two olive
Hmm.
trees. One was grown on nutrient rich soils and it thrived and grew really well. The other one, not as much, and its growth was stunted. So we can see this
Wow.
in nature. Um, so supplements are important. Really, when I use them with my clients, it's to bridge the gap between what's missing in the diet.
I
And
see.
yeah, but certain ones like vitamin D is a big
Mm.
one, especially,
Mm.
even on a warm day, it can be cloudy. So
Yeah.
we're not getting as much if you're covered, if you're wearing your hats and your clothes. We're not, you need, for vitamin D absorption, you need to have your skin exposed without
Ah,
some
and
protection
exposed.
factor.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
without the SPF. So it's a funny one because if
Hmm.
you're pale skinned, even somebody like me can burn with a tan.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you put it on because you don't want to burn.
Yeah.
But then again, you block the absorption. So yeah, vitamin D is important.
Hmm.
Again, just to say that I can't give specific advice because everyone's
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
different. So the
Yeah.
best way would to be get your levels tested. But I
Yeah.
definitely believe in supplements, and there's different types you can take. So you can take supplements that are more whole food based,
Hmm.
so closer to
Hmm.
kind of food where they're grown on a they're kind of like fermented nutrients, which are great in a
Yeah.
enclosed in a capsule, powder form, and that will give you a lot of the minerals. So things like
Hmm.
iodine, um, sorry, iodine, iron, the trace minerals like manganese, zinc, which is really what we all need because they're the little
Yeah.
helpers in the body.
Mm.
You can also take vitamin C as well, which in like a superfood form, which is more
Yeah.
natural, yeah, than taking synthetic vitamin C. So yeah,
Yeah.
it really depends. But I definitely notice if somebody takes broad spectrum supplements, your health is going to be far healthier because you're going for
Yeah.
optimum nutrition. And any surplus, so people think, oh, if I
Mm.
take supplements, I'm just going to pee them out in my urine. Your
Yeah.
body utilizes it all, and the extra can go to your
Um,
hair, skin, nails, eyesight, because every tissue and organ needs it. So it's
ah,
not like anything's
interesting.
wasted.
Yeah.
But saying that, you have different quality brands. So just as we have different brands of foods, you have
Yeah.
different types of companies that have their supplements. So I, as a nutritionist, go to good quality ones. They're not, to be fair, there's not much of a price difference. I think
Yeah.
maybe slightly dearer, but you pay for the
Yeah.
quality, so it's absolutely worth
Yeah.
it. And you want to be absorbing what you're taking. Yeah.
100%. I do. Yeah, I have that. Like with when it comes to quality of food, I think quality is important. I think like and on the food, this is what I have said to myself. Like on my monthly kind of budget that I have for food, I'm not gonna not buy good quality of a Greek yogurt, a chicken. I don't know, like something just because it's like a pound or 2 pounds difference. No, because food is important. So it's worth the investment because it's you. Like at the end of the day,
Exactly.
you consume it. So it's an investment to yourself to buy good quality stuff,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
good
And you've got
quality
the
of food.
taste element. Absolutely. So they might
Yeah,
it tastes better too. Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
I mean, this is the thing. And also, sorry to compare it back to a car.
No, go for
A
it.
lot of people look after their car, don't they? They nurture it
Yeah,
and they take care of it. You know,
yeah,
they they make sure they do the MOTs and the servicing and body work, which is important.
yeah,
But the
yeah,
same thing for the body. You give it the
mm,
right quality fuel, and it will
yeah.
really work for you. Yeah.
I want to touch on also kind of the struggles that you see people have on their diets, right? And I want to start maybe in an unusual way. Um, do you think patience is important when it comes to dieting and nutrition?
Yes.
Yeah.
Patience is important. I mean, there's so many factors involved. I mean, it depends on the health goal somebody's trying to achieve and the symptom. But if it's acute, then
Mm,
often just a few tweaks to the diet and a few lifestyle changes, you can notice
straight
significant
away.
changes, yeah, in a really
Mm,
good way quite quickly. So, for example, clients that I've worked with digestive imbalances, when I
mhm.
go through their health history and their diets, I'm often remedying, alleviating the bloating, the stomach cramps. We're looking at improving the bowel movements. And that can happen quite quickly if they follow the
Yeah,
changes and they take the right supplements to heal the gut.
yeah,
Some other things like weight loss, for example, again, depends how much weight loss somebody wants to lose. That can take a little
yeah,
bit of time. Yeah, because there's
yeah,
no magic pill that's going to get
yeah,
somebody, yeah, from being overweight to to a healthier weight very quickly.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. No, yeah, I should have maybe explained as well. Like the purpose of this question is like, because I think people, let's say for example, it's February, right? And I'm sure people are still into their New Year resolutions. And it's like, comes January, I assume you have like maybe an influx of clients coming every January, right? And they're like, okay, so now please help me with my diet. I'm a little bit overweight, and I want to 3 months, I want to be healthy, right? And I think a lot of people don't have the patience to, you know, just start, be patient, trust the process,
exactly.
and you will lose the weight. And I think that's where I was coming from.
Yeah,
Um,
it's easy for people
yeah,
to slip. Sometimes, so for example, the changes aren't sustainable. They might think
yeah,
I give, like they give up quickly, or they're not able to continue it for whatever reason. But this is the thing: when we say diet, it shouldn't be restrictive and boring and a
mm,
chore. It's basically what you're eating day to day, similar to you get up and you brush your teeth, for example. It should be like a
mm,
habit.
yeah,
But if something's not working for some, so often I think again it comes back to reason, motivation, the
hmm,
purpose, doesn't it? Why somebody's doing something.
yeah,
But this is an issue that I have with rigid, strict plans, and some
mhm,
therapists might be giving this to their patients, and
mm,
it just doesn't work long term. It's not practical. There's got to be flexibility in the plan. It's about balance, isn't it? So if you do have a social occasion, or a big event coming up, or a holiday, you can relax a little bit and
Mm.
still be healthy and still get to your health
Yeah.
goals. But a lot of it is mindset as well. So
Yeah.
staying motivated and dedicated, I think
Mm.
they help. I mean, same with the fitness plan, isn't it? You're not just by
Yeah.
doing one session in the gym, some like stomach crunches or some abs, you're not going to get a six pack or a, all
Yeah.
those big biceps. You've got to keep working at it, don't you? That's why I say to people, look at your body as being, similar to a machine in that sense, but yeah,
Yeah.
just look after it, nourish it,
Yeah.
feed it well. Yeah, as you would
Yeah.
to a car or a plant, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it does. I do agree with you. Of course, every start is difficult, right? Funny, I like an analogy that I have is like a rocket that goes up to space. A rocket uses so much fuel in the beginning, right?
Mhm.
Once it lifts, but then once it's in like orbit or whatever, it just
Mhm.
it needs small adjustments. So if you
Mhm.
think about it, if you're starting something new, you will need a lot of energy. But once you have reached a certain level, everything then it will be automated. Like, and again, like for example, my nutrition is basic, right? But it's healthy and it's now automated. Every time I go to the supermarket, I know what I'm buying. I don't need to think about it. And the same with fitness. It's like automated. Like I know what I'm gonna be doing, and it's a lifestyle. And I think that's what you said in the beginning. It's all about your lifestyle. And I
Yeah.
think like you have to incorporate nutrition into your lifestyle, and maybe like it will help. um why do you think though why is it difficult to change our diets and also stick to the new one, right? Like what do your clients like? For example, when a client comes to you and they you create a plan for them, but then 3 months down the line they're like, oh, so now I can't maintain it. Why is it difficult, yeah, to change and maintain our diet?
Yeah. I mean, change can be difficult anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is why when I do my diet plans and I'm working with clients, we
Mm,
make changes gradually. They're achievable, they're trackable, and then we can tweak it. But it's got to work for the client. So the change will be not a drastic change. It will be,
mhm.
and maybe be. So, for example, if somebody's having 7 cups of coffee a day, I'm not going to say you go back to having zero. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
We do things gradually. Or they've got a sugar addiction, we cut back the sugar
Mm,
entirely. So it's all about incorporating recommendations in there that are practical, easy to follow, and it doesn't feel
mm.
like it's a big change, if that makes sense. So because small changes do work. I mean, a new habit takes 21 days, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
that's what they say to stick to. So
Yeah.
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 And then we just build on that. So we
Mhm.
build on the changes. Um, but it's the swaps. That's what I work with. So, for example, a client might like a certain brand of bread or a biscuit, and I'm looking to
Mhm.
swap them over to just better quality ones, if that makes sense, that are low in
Yeah.
sugar. And we often we look at recipes as well. So, a big part of my
Mhm.
job is sending recipes and cooking healthier, quick meals that are easy to
Mm.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not about restricting or
Yeah.
cutting back things. It's about optimizing and making it easy
Yeah.
to follow. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting that you also have like recipe kind of like, within your plans. Because like, for example, I think, I don't know, like the world that we live in and everyone works and everyone is like, fast paced lifestyle. A lot of people's maybe excuse or like, reason for a bad diet is I don't have time.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how do you combat that? And finding recipes that are easy, nutritious, and good to eat is
Exactly.
probably a game changer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also taste comes into this. Like, because often
Mm,
people are on a diet and they're on it because maybe they get the results, but they're not enjoying it. But I think food should be enjoyed ultimately, right?
mm.
If you're not enjoying it, then what's the point, right? You half get the benefit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And you won't stick with it. Like if you're not enjoying
exactly.
the food, it's like, ugh. Yeah. 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 No, definitely I do agree with you.
Yeah.
And Do you have any advice for people who find it difficult to stick on their diet? Do you reckon it's like mainly about make it enjoyable,
Change
or
your
what
diet.
other?
Yeah. If the
Yeah,
diet you're on, if your nutritionist has put you on a diet that you don't enjoy, or you're following some fad diet, change it.
yeah,
Don't follow it. Yeah.
change it. Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
It's common. A lot of this, honest, like I've been doing this for years. Like I
Mm,
don't even know how long now. I think I don't even know. It must be more than 18 years now.
wow.
A
Yeah,
lot of
that's
this,
crazy. Yeah,
it's common sense, and
yeah, yeah.
intuition. I say too. Like people know what to eat, what isn't. If really we had to do a list of what's healthy, what isn't, most people would be able to categorize the foods in there. But there is
Yeah.
so much confusion because yes, we have social media, we have also normal media, the media like the
Yeah.
press and
Yeah.
television, radio,
Hmm.
and also different practitioners. You have celebrities that are
Mm.
endorsing, whatever they're endorsing. So it's just being smart with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And using common sense. Something I wanted to touch upon is like alcohol. Like, do you think like alcohol plays a big role in your nutrition? Because like, it depends how often you drink and etc. It is
Yeah.
very caloric, it has a lot of calories, right? Do you also recommend kind of like if someone wants to improve their diet, kind of to maybe cut down uh, alcohol consumption, or like or no, you wouldn't suggest because you did say kind of like
Depends on the person
cut
again, but
it.
I would never tell a client to give up alcohol. They often tell
Okay.
me, I want to,
Yeah.
I'm ready to cut back everything. I mean, I have clients that want to do a detox, and on a
Mm.
detox, if somebody went on a detox retreat, there is no alcohol. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
juicing and
Yeah. Yeah.
smoothies. Yeah, so it depends how strict somebody wants to go. But alcohol doesn't. I wouldn't say it's a massive factor, but it is obviously quantity related. If somebody's drinking every day, copious amounts of it, it
Hmm.
is quite taxing on the liver.
Mm.
And if they've got weight issues, it can perhaps
Hmm.
add to that. So, and it depends on the different types of alcohol because it's often what alcohol's
Yeah.
mixed with that can be more calorific. So often the
Yeah.
mixer, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I get you, and especially like here in the UK, I think, or like in Scotland, alcohol is a very big social thing,
yeah,
and a lot of it, you know what I mean. Like you go out, and it's like alcohol is like on the forefront
yeah.
of the social activity that you do is
That's
alcohol.
right.
Drink alcohol.
That's right. But you can. I mean, this is it. I
Yeah,
mean, it's all in moderation. But if if
yeah,
if you're somebody where because alcohol is digested, but it hits the bloodstream, and the liver has to break down the alcohol, make it less
yeah,
toxic. That alcohol can affect your sleep and mood. So this is it.
yeah,
So if you're sleep deprived,
mm,
you're more likely to eat more the next day,
yeah,
and be less productive, and then
yeah,
also more irritable. So if you're not
hmm,
feeling, your mood's not there, you're less likely to go out, maybe exercise, socialize. So there's that too.
yeah,
So yeah, it's all in
yeah,
balance, but do things that make you feel happy and good because
mm,
ultimately that is health too. One of the pillars of health is that
yeah.
side. Yeah.
What is your advice on people who go on social media for information and advice on food, diet, and nutrition? Like,
Yeah.
I go on my Instagram and it's like, oh, like do a low carb diet and or follow this or like do that. And it's like, oh, okay, okay. Because you see their body and they have a good body. So you think that their advice is a sound and good advice. But I don't think that's always the case. And I don't know. I
Yeah.
would love to hear your
Exactly.
opinion.
I mean, this again comes to the fact that it's personalized. It's no one size fits all. So it might work for somebody, a faddy diet or restrictive diet, but it doesn't work for somebody else. Some of the things on social media are credible. I think it depends where
Mm,
it's coming from, what the source is. So we've got to take everything with a balanced view as well, and be a bit
yeah.
subjective with it too. So scientific journals again have their own biases, but if the research has been backed by science and is credible. But what I do think social media is good for is recipes and things like that. So when people showcase how to
Okay.
make things, because they can do it in really quick ways, can't they? And some of it is
Yeah.
great. I've picked some
Mm,
recipes, and sometimes I share them when I have time.
yeah.
So it's good for that. But I think be careful about following the advice that they give, if that makes sense, because
Yeah.
then the risk of it just really depends. I mean, if there's a superfood and they're promoting
Mm,
it, then perhaps there's some credibility in that. But you can always
Yeah.
cross-check things. Don't take it for gospel truth. Cross-check, be smart about it, and do your research.
Yeah.
But if you have like I think it was a lemon juice diet, wasn't it? The just having
Hmm.
lemon honey. I think Beyonce and some of the other celebrities were following that. The maple syrup one,
Yeah.
very, very restrictive. The body needs nutrients. So if we deprive anything, for example, carbohydrates, actually, if somebody was to go on a low carb diet to
Yeah.
strip, to lose weight, fair enough. But which carbs are how low are you going with the carbs? What carbs are you going
Yeah.
to keep in? Because we need carbohydrates. That's a macronutrient that's important for the brain, for the muscles. We know that carbohydrates are needed for serotonin production, which improves our mood
Oh,
and sleep. Yeah.
wow.
And if we're low on serotonin, that can
Yeah.
increase depression or, our mood, for example. So it's a
Mm.
very delicate balance. So we need to be
Wow.
careful.
From your advice, right? Like, wow, like you get something or you learn something that you're like, oh, crap, I didn't know that. I didn't know why carbs are needed and etc. And you're
Yeah.
like, and it goes back to knowledge and like information. And I think it's like so important to find sources that you can trust. And I think that's the most difficult thing. Maybe not the most difficult, but it is a difficult thing in our, you know, in this period of time where everyone and anyone can say whatever they want,
Yeah.
publish it on the internet, and people
That's
believe it.
that's right. It's got to hold validity. So I'm still a bit old fashioned. I think go to books. There's some fantastic books that were written even, in the 80s and 90s. And sometimes I flick
Mm,
through them and it's like, this is I wouldn't say 100% accurate because we're never gonna nutrition is not a true science, but it
mm,
resonates, it makes sense, and if we try it and it works, then that's great.
yeah,
So ultimately it's about listening to your body and what works for you. Yeah. So for
yeah,
example, a lot of people might put what they eat in a day, for example. Some of them, these what you call people that promote on social media, but you know what I mean, like
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
ones that have a following, yeah, like whoever they are. But I start the day with a bowl of fruit, and then I'll
yeah,
have, an omelette for lunch, for example, whatever. But some people can't digest fruit, so you might
yeah,
think you're eating the healthiest diet, but I
yeah,
have clients that have sensitivities to fruit. Their gut just can't absorb it or break it down
yeah,
properly. So again, it's very, very individualistic. You might think you're doing
yeah,
the right thing, but you could be damaging something. Also, gluten free, Paris. I don't know. Gluten
yeah,
free was a phase. I'm
yeah,
intolerant to gluten, I'm sensitive to gluten, perhaps, but really get the
yeah,
test done. Are you just
yeah,
removing gluten out of your diet for a reason? We need the fiber. Yes, I agree. Food is more processed. It's things bread can be made very quickly nowadays. It's not that slow fermentation process that it
yes,
was back in
yeah,
the
yeah,
day.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
got
yeah.
more ingredients in them.
Mm,
Bread also contains sugar. If you have a look at some of the
yeah,
breads, you've got molasses and other ingredients that shouldn't be in there.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah, being careful with what you follow. Yeah, because you might not need to remove certain food groups out of the diet, if that makes sense.
yeah,
And sometimes the replacements aren't as healthy either.
yeah,
So yeah.
yeah. No, it's very interesting, and especially as you said, like you see the ingredients on the back of a packet of of bread, and you're like sugar and like other stuff, and it's like, why does
Exactly.
everything have sugar? Like what's going on here? Fair enough, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I think it's fascinating, and that's a completely new topic. What big corporations are doing, and they're putting in the food that we eat to make it as sweet as possible, because that's what we want in our palate, right? We want high calorie food because we're still kind of in our hunter and gatherer brain, that we think that food is scarce, and if we eat something with high calories, we love it,
Yeah.
and our brain loves it, and we keep eating it. Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
if I'm correct, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
And you're right, because sugar and even salt, it tastes good. We want more of
yeah,
it. But
yeah,
the quality, because the thing with sugar, I was just going to say, the
mm,
companies are very smart. They're aware of this, the food
yeah,
companies, and they're trying to reduce the sugars. But what they're
yeah,
doing is replacing it with perhaps not so healthy ingredients like artificial sweeteners. And they only
yeah,
came about, they're modern day chemicals, and they're, again, the body doesn't like them or recognize them. So you might be
mm,
thinking, okay, I'm on a low sugar diet. I'm swapping to these so-called healthy foods, but they might not
Mm.
be healthy, if that makes sense, because they also come with
Yeah.
their own complications,
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So this is now we're
Yeah.
talking about, yeah, the companies replacing or reducing it, like the beverages. I don't know if you're aware of this, but to avoid the sugar tax, they started putting in artificial sweeteners so they can get
Yeah.
away with, yeah, lowering the
Yeah, of
sugar, if that
course.
makes sense.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's interesting.
And
Fair enough. That's
these
yeah.
went around when, when I was growing up. We had sugar.
Mm,
Even the
yeah.
oils are changing as well. So a lot of
Mm,
sunflower oils being replaced by rapeseed oil. These are
yeah.
industrial oils. Do we know the long term dangers? No.
Yeah.
So
No.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that can be a topic by itself. It's a
yeah.
very interesting topic, 100%. What I also wanted to ask you though is like, do you have clients who are impacted by the misinformation of social media and maybe come to you with issues as like, such as anorexia or feeling guilty of how their body works? Do you have clients like that?
I've had clients in the past, yeah,
Yeah.
who don't have the most healthiest relationship with food,
Yeah.
and have probably some sort of body dysmorphia with the.
Mm,
In fact, I have a lot of clients with body dysmorphia, I can say, but it's not given a
mhm.
label,
Yeah.
because they just don't feel, happy with how they're looking. So yeah,
Yeah.
there might be guilt there. I think there is some
Mm,
underlying guilt and shame, especially with my
mm,
clients that, or anyone actually.
mm.
And just to add, there's nothing to be shameful if they
Yeah.
follow this kind of restrictive diet, binge eating, restrictive kind of cycle. So, but they
Yeah.
follow,
Yeah.
and this is why diets do not work, because a lot of diets are restrictive, that they're not
Yeah.
sustainable. So the individual
Mm,
has no choice but to binge because their body is
yeah.
craving certain foods, often
Yeah.
sugar and carbs, because that's what's been cut out, to refuel again. So it's not
Yeah.
healthy. But yeah, and it may be that they've been misled by
Mhm.
information that they've read or following
Yeah.
something that, yeah, isn't healthy.
Yeah.
Um,
It's very interesting because, and would you say, is it a 50-50 between men and women, or do you think, body image issues kind of is predominantly women, right? Because like, I think the media as general, right, has always been focusing on women.
yeah,
And maybe now we are starting to see that like, okay, media is taking on men now and
yeah.
men feel the pressure of body image.
Absolutely, and there's a big thing about
Yeah.
men's health now. Every year, it's
Yeah.
almost, yeah, it's commemorated. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's both. And but when in my
Yeah.
practice, I see 50-50. Sometimes
Okay.
actually, I've had
Wow.
probably I probably see sometimes more men than women, but also
Wow.
children as well. And I see it.
Yeah.
I've had men that have come to me for hair loss. They've noticed more
Mm,
balding, for example.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
Also, prostate cancer is on the
Hmm.
rise. I
Hmm.
hate to say it, but the suicide rates in men are really high too. So this
Yep.
poses like mental health. So yes, there are a lot of issues for men's
Yeah.
health that need to be
Men's
addressed as
health as
well.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but from a body image
No, there.
perspective,
Mhm.
yes, I
Yeah.
was going to say it can be both. Often men
Yeah.
have that. They want to look good for themselves as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, so basically, like the reason I'm asking this question is more because, like, next week, I'm having another interview with a professor from Strathclyde University, and we're gonna specifically talk about body image and social media, and and how, like, for example, social media has impacted body image, but then also on kids, because like now that's the biggest one, and like I have been researching a little bit the topic, and it's like kids 18, no, sorry, 13 to 18 that are most impacted the most. And I'm
Yeah,
like, damn. And they are the ones that have no critical thinking, of course, like they're just a teenager.
yeah,
But they are also the age group that spends the most time on social media.
yeah.
So they consume for hours and hours
That's right.
content
Yeah.
that is not healthy. And I'm
No.
like,
And how much is subconsciously being transferred too? Yeah. Because they look at that
yes,
and think that's how I want to be or should be, but they're still growing. This is the thing. We
yeah,
don't stop growing
yeah,
till I think even it's 21 actually. And the bones don't stop growing till they're 30, till we're in our 30s. 35
yeah,
can be the top range. So you don't want to be restricting or, yeah, going on
yeah,
steroids and altering your hormones and taking things that
yeah,
are
yeah.
detrimental. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I also want to touch on mental health, and we only have a few more questions. But, like, how does our diet impact our mental health?
Yeah, this is a major, yeah. I mean, again, the research, because it's still quite novel, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
because mental health, again, it's a delicate subject in itself, and
Mm.
it involves so many conditions and symptoms. So,
Yeah.
anxiety and depression are probably the most common
Hmm.
symptoms, but we've also got
Yeah.
things like OCD, panic, post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD,
Hmm.
OCD, panic attacks. Then you've got your other spectrum of personality disorders, schizophrenia. So yeah,
Yeah.
very, very big area.
Yeah. True.
Again, coming back to what I said earlier about feeding the body the right um, with the right nutrients
Mm.
that support the building blocks of these neurotransmitters can make a difference, I think. And also things like vitamin B, the B
Yeah.
complexes, the vitamin C,
Hmm.
and the minerals. There's been strong research to show they can help
Yeah.
improve, yeah, certain symptoms. I mean, also this was founded by Linus Pauling with
Hmm.
orthomolecular science. I
I
don't know if you knew
don't know.
about, yeah, so orthomolecular nutrition science with high
Wow.
dose vitamin therapy
Uh,
curing some of these conditions. Yeah, so there is a place for nutrients in it if we look at it, what the brain and the body needs.
yeah.
Again, there's no one size fits all, so it's really unraveling what's the root cause of these. Because
I see.
what medicine does, it puts a plaster on it, doesn't it? If somebody's depressed, here's a SSRI, to recirculate
Mm.
your serotonin. Um, okay, you've got anxiety, we'll give you an anxiety medication. So it's just putting a plaster on it. It's really important for someone who's suffering with mental health to find out the underlying reason, because often we
Mm.
can help, we can manage it better. Yeah, it might not
Yeah.
completely go away, but if we know what the reasons are. Um,
Yeah.
there is research, with low vitamin D leading to seasonal affective depression, so
Hmm. Yeah.
yeah, in winter,
Yeah.
which I'm sure we've all
I
been
do have.
through. Yeah,
Yes.
the
A
weather
hundred
the
percent.
weather impacts our mood, and if we're low
Yeah.
in vitamin D,
Yeah.
deficiency symptoms are your bones start hurting. You just don't feel strong enough. You don't feel right. You genuinely are vitamin D deprived, right? So, and
Mm.
it's a sunshine vitamin. So book yourself a holiday in the sun or take the supplements, and you are going to feel better. So yeah, there's a direct link with that. B vitamins are important for mood. So
Hmm.
B12, B6, B1, B2. Yeah.
I think, as you said, like earlier, when I asked you about the supplements, I think that's a discussion again, to explore, vitamins and supplements and like, all the things. Because, like, for example, I'm from Greece, right? So I came here when I was 18. I'm now 29. And I think for the first kind of years, I had kind of seasonal depression here in Scotland, in Edinburgh, because, like, you don't get the sun. Like, now it's nice and sunny, thank God. But, during, like, November, December, January, you don't get the sun.
No,
Like, you can have like 2 weeks just cloudy. And it's like, damn.
exactly.
And especially with the time as well, like, it gets dark at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's like, okay.
That's right.
And,
Yeah.
and people who come from the Mediterranean to the northern countries, and it's like,
The shock.
yeah, I can see, yeah.
Yeah,
I can see the depression in your face.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's
that's right.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we have thoughts on it. Like, there is a connection between mental health and food. And I think, kind of, we talked about before, the trifecta of maybe a stable mental health with, if someone does not have any underlying issues, right, is good nutrition, good exercise, and I think a good sleep. And I don't know
Yes.
if you would.
Yeah. And they all
Yeah.
interlink.
Yeah.
So if you
Mhm.
are, for example, if you have the energy and you feel strong in your body,
Yeah.
then you're more likely to do the exercise and to sleep better. But if you feel depressed, you've got that brain fog, you just can't be bothered, that lethargic feeling, you don't want to go
Yeah.
out, you don't have the energy. So then again, you might comfort eat and go into unhealthy practices or follow unhealthy practices, and
Yeah.
it can be kind of a downward spiral. So, and it's a catch-22. So yeah, there's lots to think about. Yeah, but the
Yeah.
it's what we said earlier, that the main thing is putting all your energy and just starting and getting yourself out of this kind of, getting out of your comfort
Yeah.
zone
Yeah.
into a better place for you. Yeah, because
Yeah.
no one can
No.
do it. No one will do it. People really have to take responsibility for your health. That's the thing. Unless you're a kid,
Yeah.
obviously, you've got your role model, your role
Yeah.
models. But as adults, we should take full responsibility for our health. Yeah.
100%. I do agree with you on that. Like, at the end of the day, it's you. And if you don't want to change, or if give yourself excuses, you can only blame yourself for that. And even if you have people, good friends who care for you and etc., or like, partners, if you don't want to, it won't happen. And
Exactly.
probably the same, like if people come to you and they say, hey, so now please help me, and they pay for this service,
Yeah.
if they don't want to do it, they will still don't do it,
Yeah.
even though they come to you. And I
Yeah.
think like they're super. Yeah, fair
But
enough.
if someone's invested in their health, they've paid for a service.
Yeah.
Maybe put a lot of money into it as well. I mean, I'm very affordable, but
Yeah.
there are programs that are very expensive. You have more of a reason to do it, and you're accountable
Yeah.
to someone. So often the client is accountable to me. So if they book on a
Yeah.
longer program, I'm there.
Mhm.
Not, I mean, I might
Yeah.
not be able to physically hold the hand, but I'm
Yeah.
there on the show. I can be there to make
Yeah.
sure that they're on the right track. But the other thing to just quickly add in was with the mental health, somebody who is suffering with whatever mental health they are, it can be more stressful for the family members. So do you see
Mm.
what I mean? So I have had clients where it's the family members that reach out, like the children,
I
saying,
see.
my dad is really suffering. Can we get him out?
Mhm.
He's lost, his motivation, whatever, to be healthy.
Yeah.
And yeah, is there
Yeah.
anything we can do? So it's a call for help, but it takes a toll on the carers and their family members. So they
Mhm.
also have to look after their health, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
No,
mental
it
health
does.
is, I don't know if you know, but it costs now, I think it's about 300 billion in the UK.
Christ.
It's
Wow.
superseding obesity. So before it used to be heart disease and obesity. Now mental
Yeah.
health is staggeringly high, and it's got worse since lockdown, for obvious reasons. Yeah.
Yes.
And 1 in 10
Mhm.
children have mental health issues, which is really, really worrying.
You said it before, like social media has a lot to answer for. I don't know,
Yeah.
like I don't know if it's a scapegoat, but I do think like up to a certain point, social media does play a role. And also, like for example, I think only now people are recovering from COVID. And what I want to say with this, or what I mean by this, is that like I have seen in 2025 on Facebook groups and etc. that I'm in, people are starting to build communities,
Yeah.
right? And I don't know, you may have noticed this, but like people want the connection now, the social connection. And I think people are, willing to go outside the comfort zone to meet people and build again social connections. And I feel like, you kind of touched on it before, like with loneliness, people do feel lonely. And yeah, and I think like, now maybe it's like a new kind of beginning for people to start building connections. Fair.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I totally
Um,
agree. The social side is really important. Yeah.
yeah.
And also
Um,
sharing information as well. So the good thing is when you're with other people, you're sharing. We're sociable beings. We're not supposed to be confined on our own. And
yeah.
yeah, it's really worrying the amount of people that are lonely, including the elderly. It's very sad.
Yes.
But something to check out also for the listeners, viewers, and we
Hmm.
spoke about this earlier, was the blue zones
Yes.
countries, the zones of countries around the world. So we've got Ikaria in Greece,
Hmm.
Sardinia,
Yeah.
Okinawa in Japan,
Yep.
and LA, and there's a couple of others around the around the world. The
Yeah.
longest, these are populations that live to about 100, long lifespans. And when we look at what they follow, it's not just the Mediterranean diet and the lovely sunny weather, it's the social
Yeah.
community side too. They eat together, they
Yeah.
socialize, yeah,
Yeah.
which is really
a hundred
important.
percent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Like it is like a thing. Like, people socialize over food, right? Like food comes into place, like, family dinners, family lunches, etc. on the weekends. Yeah. 100%. I do have two more questions for you. I want to touch on health tests, right? At what stage should someone consider doing some health tests to check their potential imbalances in their body and etc.?
I think it's really important to do the testing as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Again, the GPs do some testing, but it can be very basic tests, so they're not
Mm.
in depth. So if you want to find out
Comprehensive.
what
Yeah.
your vitamin C is, your CoQ10, your all your B vitamins, your magnesium, how your body's breaking down things, then you've got to go private. There is a cost element to them, but it's absolutely
Yeah.
worth doing, because I'm looking at test results from kids at the moment as well, that
Hmm.
where the mother wants me to look over all her kids' health, and we are picking up imbalances in the health, and it's matching the
Mm.
symptoms of what the kid is going through. So it's
Oh.
really important, and then we can work backwards. We can look at supplementation. Yeah,
Yeah, and I do agree with you. I think, like, for example, I have friends here that, they are low in mood. They wake up and they're tired. And I'm like, that's not normal.
no,
Like, you just woke up from a sleep. You shouldn't be
yeah,
tired. But they are. And when I tell them, oh, go to a GP to begin with,
yeah,
right? And do a test, like, do a normal blood test, see if something is wrong,
yeah,
if you have any deficiencies. And they're like, no, I'm okay. It's like, what do you mean you're okay? Like,
yeah,
yeah, do
exactly.
it. Yeah, because like in Greece, whenever I go back, like my parents and myself, but like mainly my parents are like, okay, Paris, you will go to the doctor, you will do blood tests, see your vitals, see if everything is fine, da, da, da. Yeah, it's a thing. And I think like it's very important for people to, what is it recommended? Either 6 months or every year, just go and do blood tests, make
Yeah,
sure everything is fine.
similar to the car, isn't it? Even yearly, you go to the
Yeah,
dentist or get your eyes done. You
yeah,
service your car. You go for MOT. The car
yeah,
MOT. So of course, do it with your body. The thing is, a big motto of mine is prevention is better than cure. So why wait
um,
till, because diseases or
yeah,
diseases, these
mm,
chronic, well, they used to be chronic, but now they can happen anytime because we see it in
yeah,
kids. They can take years to
mm,
develop. So if we
yeah,
can kind of prevent them from worsening, or identify, yeah, kind of the reasons now,
yeah,
it's important.
yeah,
But I was gonna say, yeah. So tiredness, often low energy, is a very very common complaint that I see. So, and we can
mm,
quickly remedy that. It's very easy to do. Yeah, this is the thing. And it might not
yeah,
be somebody's low in, iron or vitamin D. It could be something else. But
for sure.
yeah, but if it is a nutrient, again, you're walking around with nutrient deficiencies, which can
Yes.
easily be corrected. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, but I would say it depends how long someone has got it for. So if it's just, a couple of days or a couple of weeks, and it comes and goes, fair enough. But if it's something that happens
Constant.
every day, long term, then ideally it's good for you to get it sorted, I think.
Yeah. 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 No, that, yeah, my friend, she had it for ages, but she just refused to go to a GP. I don't know why, but
That's
fair enough.
fine. I mean, a lot of people have this fear
Yeah.
of the GP. They'll go and then
Yeah.
I might get diagnosed with something. So yeah, but that's why
Yeah.
people like me exist. So we've got
100%.
there's loads of nutritionists. Up and down the country in Scotland. You
Mm.
can see a practitioner anywhere. Just check out their credentials. You
Yeah.
can have complimentary sessions with them, and then
Yeah. Take
really,
it from there.
yeah. Because
Yeah.
the other thing with testing, it's not just a blood test. Some of them are blood tests. You can
Mm.
check for metals as well, Paris. So you can check for
Oh.
heavy metals. So if you've been exposed to chemicals like cadmium, aluminium, lead,
Hmm.
mercury, if you've got mercury fillings, they can all impact how your body functions. We know that the brain has a permeable
Yeah.
brain barrier, so we can measure toxins, we can measure antioxidants, we can look at gut health as well to check
Yeah.
for parasites, to check how your gut's breaking down. So digestion, basically, the good
Mm.
bacteria, the non so beneficial bacteria, we can measure all of that in testing, which
Yeah.
is really good.
I do
Yeah,
agree with you, and I think people should, go and do tests because, like, yeah, fair enough. Like, yeah, just to have like a baseline of how you are, and
Ex-
then check again in 6 months, and then you know do the right diet and etc. And then
yeah,
I'm sure 6 months down the line you will be fine.
yeah. Especially
And
if they're not feeling right, if they just don't feel right, then there's a lot that testing can find out. Yeah, just
yeah,
give
hundred
us
percent.
information. Yeah.
Yeah. If someone, this is the last question, like if someone after this podcast decides that they want to change their diet, right? And what would you say are the principles they should follow when it comes to a healthy diet?
Yeah, so I always can never underestimate the effects of water. So water is really, really important. So adequate
Hmm.
hydration.
Yeah.
Um, if you can afford a filter, I'd highly recommend one, because you want clean water with the
Okay.
impurities kind of taken off. I don't know about tap water in, like, especially the UK and other countries. It's
Mm,
safe, but you want to have good drinking water.
okay.
You can also alkalize it further by adding lemon to it, lemon or lime.
Okay.
So that's a
Mm-hmm.
good one. So that would be my first tip, would be, yeah, adequate hydration. Secondly, look at what you can cut back out in your diet that is
Mm,
probably not serving you much good. So is it that, you're drinking too much alcohol, you're eating too much sugar, perhaps there's more processed foods in your diet. So maybe look at cutting, or coffee, cut back on
mhm.
those. So that would be my tip number two. And then third would be replacing some of this with better
Mm.
foods and drinks
Yeah.
that are gonna, nourish the body a bit more. Look at superfoods, so things like
Mhm.
turmeric, ginger, natural vitamin C from superfood powders. So things like the
Yeah.
berries are really, really
Mhm.
good for you, like goji berries, acerola cherry. Baobab is another one of my
Mhm.
favorites that I often recommend to my clients. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's good because you're having food in its natural state. And then
Mhm.
look at your macros and your fruits and vegetables. So they're the
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, if we look at the pyramid, you're looking at your fruits and vegetables. Again, not everyone can digest them. So if you've got difficulties digesting it, do seek a nutritionist, because they can help with digestion. How can you increase your diet to make it more nutrient dense? So this is the things we need to be thinking about.
Mm.
Fruits and vegetables, for example. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
underplayed a lot. The other thing is eating in season is really important, because when it's cold, and we're still in winter, I know it's,
Yeah.
yeah. You
We're
want to
getting
be
there.
having foods that are more comforting.
Yeah.
So your starchy carbs, you want to be cooking your veggies. The
Yeah.
broccolis and the cabbage and the sprouts and the kale.
Yeah.
They're all good for round about now. In summer, or when the weather gets warmer, so springtime, you can think about salads.
Mm.
Do you see?
Okay.
So we're
Yeah.
eating in season as well. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, that's interesting. Yeah, because like for example, like of course you can go to the supermarket and find strawberries, right? And it's like, yeah, but a strawberry is not like a winter fruit. It's like a summer fruit.
Yeah.
Why do we have strawberries? And
That's
I do
right.
agree. Like in Greece, like we do eat like my parents would always buy the seasonal vegetables and fruits because like of course that makes sense. They would go to the market, food market,
It's available and it's
and they would
affordable as
buy.
well. Yeah, because
Of
fruit.
course,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, 100%. No, this has been lovely. Sonal, where can people find you?
So I'm synergynutrition.co.uk. So that's my
Perfect.
I'm the director of Synergy Nutrition.
Uh-huh.
So website is great. I often do post blogs and things that I've been featured in. So check that out. I've got some useful articles as well. They go back quite far back, but that's great. And Instagram is another place. I
Hmm.
do try and post regularly on there, but I'm not that great at using it.
Yeah,
So I think that's Sonal underscore Synergy Nutrition.
perfect. I will write it down.
That's all right.
No,
Yeah.
this has been lovely, and I'm sure like if I think we could have talked like for 2-3 hours because like if we took supplements and like broke that down, and I think also there's more knowledge there. Like I think like when you talked about like carbs and how they impact your serotonin, I think like we could have gone more specific, but I'm sure like this has been informational, I believe, for people as a first core, and then take it from there if they're more
Absolutely.
specific.
Yeah, it might just get somebody motivated to think, oh, I need to start making changes. It's a new
Yeah,
year. I can
yeah,
take these tidbits of information, and yeah,
yeah, yeah. No, thank you so
absolutely.
much.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thanks.